lesson from this past game that maybe you didn't already know?
I don't think we learned a lot. I think he got to put it on display, which is always fun to see. You know, we talk about the next man up. I think he's always ready for that opportunity. Practices extremely hard, plays extremely hard, whether the ball's going to him or not. So knew he was going to be ready for the moment when his number was called, and was really excited to see him go out and produce and perform like that, because he certainly has earned that in the way he works.
I know a lot of your plays are obviously designed for Marvin and Trey as the first read. Does this change your thinking and maybe think, okay, maybe more plays should have Mike as the first read?
I mean, again, when everyone's out there and healthy, we're always going to figure out different ways to get everybody involved, attack the defense in different ways. You know, certainly Mike's going to earn his touches, as does everybody on the offense, really.
Whether it is Mike or Trey or just any of the pass catchers, is there a moment maybe in this past game where you could see, like, all right, they're on it. Like, I know I could trust them a little bit more than you might have otherwise?
You know, that's a great question. I don't know if there was a specific moment in the game. I think as the game got going, you really felt like, all right, we're finding completions, we're creating explosive plays, guys are winning their one-on-ones, the timing and spacing of things look really good in a number of different situations against different coverages. So you start to feel like, hey, we can lean on this a little bit to produce points, but I wouldn't say there was a specific, like, aha moment from that standpoint.
What'd you see out of a guy like Isaiah Adams coming in and getting some snaps this week?
I thought he did a nice job. Again, like, just based on what they were doing up front, I think he was ready. I think he was prepared. I thought the communication was good. You really didn't see a massive drop, which is always good when you're rotating guys in and out of a game. So was really pleased with that.
Multiple illegal shift penalties, a couple other procedural things. Why do you think that happened on Sunday?
Yeah, those can't happen. That's a lack of detail, lack of focus to me. So ultimately, that's going to come back on me. So something I got to harp on in the meeting that I'm going to continue to harp on. We got to get out of the huddle. We got to get set. You can the post-snap penalties, you never want them, but inevitably they happen. The pre-snap penalties cannot.
Was there something this week in practice that you could tell that was happening? Like something was off? Or I know you guys had a lot of new faces in the lineup, but was there something that felt off, or did it just kind of pop up out of nowhere on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, I think the latter. I mean, it's something we always emphasize. I'm constantly on the guys to get out of the huddle and get set. I think when you shift in motion a decent amount, which we feel like we need to do to affect the defense, you got to be more on it. And if you send a guy in motion before everyone's set, it's a penalty.
I know it's been a number of weeks now that Jacoby's been in the lineup, but I assume you're pleased with the chemistry he's been able to have with the guys catching the passes, especially this week when you're shuffling some stuff around. It seems like it's come along pretty nicely.
Yeah, I think it's been very impressive. I mean, I think he completed, 82% of his passes, NFL record 47 completions. Anytime you're doing that at the quarterback position, you're doing a lot of things really well. And that's not just him. That's protection. That's guys getting open and making tough catches, winning one-on-ones. Chemistry, reps, confidence, decision-making. I think it all plays a major role, because I don't think he's doing that if protection's not holding up. I don't think he's not doing that if guys aren't getting open and making plays. So I think it speaks to everybody in that room and all parties involved.
Mentioned the protection. Obviously, that was a weak area against Seattle. It seemed a lot better this week. What areas enabled that success?
I think a number of things. Again, it comes back to technique and execution of the scheme, communication up front as they start to bring pressures to make sure we're all on the same page. And then at the end of the day, what a lot of the game is winning your one-on-one. And I thought the guys did that, a lot. I mean, 57 passes and didn't give up a sack. That's pretty impressive from that group. So I was really pleased with that.
What would you like about how Kelvin came in and played on Sunday?
Beach. I mean, he's so consistent. I think that's when he's going to go in there, what he's going to give you just from a execution and communication standpoint. I mean, I think he played, 700 snaps a year ago in that role. So coming off the bench, you really don't expect a big drop when he walks out there.
What about a guy like Josh Fryer coming in and filling that role?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, he played, I think, in the first game against San Francisco in the muscle tight end role, and obviously started the game in that role on Sunday. And then, his number got called, stepped in, and really, picked up where Beach left off.
In your playbook, is there a play, just one single play where the muscle tight end gets a pass?
There might be 100 of them. We'll just never know until it happens.
Oh,
Not without telling anyone. We will practice it. I promise you that before it gets called.
The run game hasn't really picked up, at least how it looked last year so far this year. So with the last 7 games, what is the priority? What can you still see? What do you need to see to try and get that going the last couple?
A mix of things. I think if you look at the amount of times we ran the ball effectively in the San Francisco game, we didn't call it very often for a number of different reasons. Certainly when you're passing the ball at that level, it's going to get dropped off a little bit. But I think as you look for success in the run game, it's going to go back to the fundamentals and the simple things and the things that we hang our hat on. Are we winning our one-on-one blocks? Are we generating movement at the line of scrimmage? Is the ball being placed where it should? And then when we get to the second or third level, are we showing great effort and energy downfield from the wideouts and the tight ends? And are we making the extra guy miss? And, inevitably at some point you're getting to the free guy if you're running the ball well, and you got to make that guy miss for the big one.
If Amari is to miss some time with the ankle, how does that impact kind of just the run game in general, but also his role in pass protection?
Yeah, it won't affect the run game a ton, other than maybe, hey, if the guy in the game has a slightly different skill set or a little bit things that he likes to see called a little bit more. We may emphasize those a tick more than some of the other stuff. And then the second question was pass pro. I think throughout the season, just based on guys being in the lineup, you've seen Bam in there on third down. You've seen Michael Carter in there on third down. I think Autry does a great job of making sure that all of those guys in the room are prepared mentally, and then they got to go in there and physically win their one-on-ones in pass pro, which I would expect any of those guys to do.
You said you feel like you guys ran the ball effectively, but you only had 2.6 yards per carry. Why do you feel like the run game was effective?
I think we ran the ball 13 times. To me, I'm going to look at run efficiency. And so first, second down, right around 4 yards. Second and third or short, it's conversion. I think if you look at those 13 runs, I think I want to say 7 or 8 of them were efficient by those standards. So like on 3rd and 2, if I call a run, it gets 3, we got a new set of downs. That accomplished its goal. And I thought for the most part in the run game on Sunday, it did that.
When you are going through a game like you guys did, penalty-wise, as a play caller or offense coordinator, are you getting to the point where when something good happens, are you kind of side-eyeing to see if there's a flag? I mean, like, is that in your head as more than normal?
Yes and no. I think you can listen to the crowd sometimes. They tend to react before I do on some of that stuff. I think it's the nature of the sport. Like I always remember, I think back to the Minneapolis Miracle in 2017. Like I think I didn't move for like 30 seconds to see if a flag was on the ground. I think that's the nature of big plays. That's the nature of the sport to some extent. But at the end of the day, as a play caller, I'm already on to the next call, and then, okay, slow down.
Multiple turnovers in a couple games in a row here. You've got defense coming into town that thrives on that. How do you guys value the ball any more so going into this?
I think it needs to be in the forefront of our minds in every single thing we do. I think nothing is more important on offense than take care of the football. This defense, as you said, has done it at an elite clip. I think we got to go look at how they've done that and why they've done that. Is it, they're doing a great job of punching and raking at the football when you have it? Are they doing a great job of affecting the quarterback? Are they keeping your eyes on the quarterback in zone coverage? Whatever they're doing to affect the ball, we need to mitigate that because it's one of the reasons they're such a good team right now.
Is there a common trend that you can see that's been causing the turnovers?
I think a lot of them have been interceptions for a number of different reasons. They got a great front that can affect the quarterback. I think they got some good players in the back end so that you've seen some tip balls, some overthrows, some balls that go up in the air and don't quite get where they need to for a number of different reasons. So that's something that we're going to have to be on top of.
What about with you guys? Have you seen anything that you guys are doing that's enabling teams to take the ball away these past 2 games?
No, not in particular.
You know Jacoby for a long time. What is it about his personality that allows him to kind of be the leader he is in terms of like making sure he's always with the guys, getting guys together, stuff like that?
Yeah, I think it's a couple. I think one, the even keelness that he goes throughout the week and throughout a game. He does not ride the wave of emotion. I mean, we all get emotional during the course of a week, or the course of a game too. But I think he does a great job of resetting, focusing on the goal, and communicating. I think such a big part of leadership is communication and making sure that you're talking to guys, you know where they're at, you know where they need to go, and you know how to get them there. And I think he does a really nice job of that.
In his role are constantly putting stuff on tape for their next opportunity. Right now, what has he put on tape, you think, for that next, whether it's here or elsewhere?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think everybody has on the offense to some extent, but I think the thing you've seen from him is the operation execution of an offense at a really high level. I mean, you look at the way that the passing game has gone in the last 5 or 6 games. We've generated explosives. We've finished with touchdowns. We're converting some big third downs at a really good clip. So just been really pleased with that side of things. And then if you look at our operation, we do a lot. Like we're in a lot of personnel groups, a lot of shifts and motions. I think he does a great job of handling all that. Getting us into the right plays, getting us into the right protections, which is a huge part of playing that position in every offense, in every system that you're going to see in the NFL.
As a defensive coordinator, and I know things happen in the game, but as a defensive coordinator and you're sending your unit out for the first time all game and it's on the 1 yard line, like, is there any different message than it normally would be?
No. Ready to take the field no matter where. It was a really good effort to get that thing down on the one. I was glad we got to get back out there and have a chance. And honestly, I think we could have done better things on that 1 yard line to force second down, and then force third down. So all you can control is what you can control. And I thought we could have actually done some better things on that down.
What about the first full drive? It seemed like there were back-to-back plays where you had two guys in the same zone on the 3rd and 8 and then the 1st and 10. If that's accurate, why did you see that kind of popping up?
The 3rd and 8, two guys in the same zone. Yeah. Yeah, we got to be able to execute on high leverage downs. And then it goes into just focus and being able to carry out your assignment, simple as that.
Was that what happened on the next play too?
The bite route, the curl route. Yeah, we had two guys kind of in the same spot. Just mentally, we got to be on our assignments.
Josh Sweat had 2 really good years under you and Jonathan in Philly, and having another good one again with you guys now. What is it about the 3 of you that allows him to have kind of breakout years?
He's a phenomenal player. He doesn't need JG or myself to be able to do what he does, but I make sure that it is my job to put him in positions to help us go win games. And I do my best to get that done, and I think he does a great job of going out there and executing and helping us play good defense.
How would you evaluate BJ's return?
It didn't look like it was his first game in a long time, so I was pleased. Definitely some things to improve on, little technique things. Assignment-wise, he was really good. Stamina, energy was really good. Glad he's back. I know that.
How hard were you on him in the critique, considering he hasn't played since 2023?
Me specifically, no, but every week we're going to approach Monday the same way. And BJ wants as much coaching as possible to get better, and that's what Matt Feeney's going to give him on a Monday.
BJ said yesterday that Zaven Collins is a football whiz. What makes Zaven that?
A lot of different things, just overall capacity to learn his job, other people's jobs, understanding offenses. And Zaven will tell you, like, it takes, years of being in the NFL to understand those type of things, understand the different coaching trees, the different type of offenses you're going against. And then that with work ethic, really, I think is what makes Zaven very, very knowledgeable. Sometimes he asks questions that are above and beyond even his responsibilities, which just kind of shows you how much he thinks critically about the game and, just where his mental capacity is.
How did you see Cody progress in his second start?
Yeah, comfortable to just go out there and pull the trigger. And when he saw it go, I think like that first game, there's probably a couple plays where he wishes he would have just pulled the trigger once once the play starts to formulate and he sees where he fits within the play, go take your shot at it. And I thought he did a good job of that the second game.
The screen pass to CMC that he blew up kind of stood out to you.
Yeah, that's one of those plays where, really good play design by them. We got to do a little bit better job with our screen recognition. But he saw it, and he decided, we have a lot of different ways that we can fit screens depending on how it gets deployed. And he had a really good read on it and decided to shoot it, and he made it on a really good player in the open field. So that was good to see.
Thanks, Coach.
Wait. Sorry.
He was writing down. Come on, Chris. Take it easy.
4 minutes. We got more time here. The end of
Well,
the
he
first,
knows I'm hungry for some lunch.
The end of the first half, they had the back-to-back where one of them was a penalty, the other was the quick slam in on those 0-man rushes.
Yep.
What went wrong with your guys' mechanics on those plays?
It's just technique driven. We got to do a job of understanding, the situation and what they're trying to accomplish and what the call is calling for. And, we got to coach it better. We got to execute better.
Were both of those kind of similar, the way that they, I mean, because the penalty was on a slant and the completion was on a slant. Were both of them kind of similar in how they unfolded in your mind?
In terms of
the mistakes that you guys made?
no, not necessarily. Those were similar, obviously, calls by me, but the way that those plays unfolded were, they were giving us different things. Those situational stuff comes down to a lot of very specifics in terms of time, timeouts, and yard line. And, depending on different offensive coaches, they can play differently, which is why we got to be able to defend a multitude of things within one call. The one that had the penalty, we just got to make sure we play penalty free, and that just goes into technique. But if he's going to sit there and, kind of move around and allow receivers to try to scramble that thing, like, time is of the essence. So we just got to make sure that we, play with low hands in the secondary. And then the last one, we just got to, understand the call and play with good technique.
Jacksonville didn't punt on Sunday. What jumps out on film from them?
They're complete right now on offense. They're able to run the ball. They got two really good backs. And then, that can set up their action game, their keeper game, or when they got to actually, it's drop back. Trevor Lawrence plays at a high level. And they're able to utilize a lot of different receivers. So, they're playing complete football, I would say. And, it's a really good system. They have a really good coaching staff, just guys from all over the place that we've gone against in the past kind of together on one staff. And you see the creativity, you see the bits and pieces that we've seen over the years. Obviously, Spencer Whipple's there. He was with us, so he'll have some creative stuff. So just a really good coached, really good talented roster that plays hard.
The fact that you play McVay twice a year, does that help a little bit against Liam Cohen?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of McVay offenses out there, I want to say that the rest of our schedule, everyone has worked with McVay at some point. It's really good. Obviously, McVay's a really good coach. And a lot of those guys that come from his staff are really good coaches. And so that's what you see the whole league gravitate towards, whether they actually worked with him or not. They set trends on what can attack defenses, and whether you play those offenses or not, you're going to get those type of concepts in the pass game and the run game. So you have to be able to defend that stuff.
When Whip was here, was the creativity what stood out to you about his coaching style?
I mean, yeah, a lot of things. Phenomenal person, work ethic through the roof. There wasn't a time where it's one of those. Not a lot of people in here, and you walk by down the hall and you see him in there grinding tape. But yeah, the curiosity. The work ethic, the creativity. He is a really good football coach.
On Purdy's first touchdown, when he checks out of whatever they were in and gets Kittle and CMC on slot fades against linebackers, is there anything that, a genuine question, what can a defense do once he's put you in that spot with his brain, I guess?
That just, it goes, there's a lot of things, honestly. You could always play chess with them. It just goes into being able to present the same no matter what. And you got to be able to not allow people to know where to go with the ball pre-snap. It just goes into disguise. So really good concept. Give them credit and give Purdy credit for being able to, identify whatever it was that he did. And they still have to be able to go make a play, and they did that. It's National Football League. It's a really good quarterback throwing to a really good tight end. So, but we just got to always emphasize that that's part of what we do is pre-snap disguises and multiplicity and adaptability to be able to take away what people do well.
What is the growth of Jordan Burch, and could that be impacted once Barron is back, now that BJ is back?
No, his growth will not get impacted. I'm seeing steady just increase in his play. In the run game and the pass rush. Just like, honestly, a lot of our younger players, the more you play, you see them get more comfortable and continue to improve each week. We want to use a lot of front players. So it just, with those guys, coming back to health, it just makes us a better unit.
Question, but what has Walt brought to this defense in his 3 games?
completeness in the run and the pass game. The pocket is effective whether it hits the stat sheet or not. He rushes with such high motor and just relentlessness to the quarterback. That I would even say like on Sweaty's sack, Walt was a big part of that, to flush him out high as opposed to being able to step up. So when Sweaty cornered, Brock was right there. So, it's those type of plays. And then in the run game, honestly, plays strong, plays violent. The one thing that really stands out to me, I think I've said this before, is just motor and violence with him. He plays a certain way, and we knew that, and he's doing it right now.
Are you seeing offenses adjust to Walt? Are you seeing anything 3 games into it?
No, not necessarily. No.
D-Rob did show up in the box score. Are there areas where he's improving, or?
Yeah, he goes into that category of, I think every week I'm seeing him improve and play his best game and then his best game. So got to continue on improving some things, but I like where he's trending, absolutely.
How would you evaluate how Pat O'Donnell has done, kind of filling in for Blake's role both as a punter and as a holder?
Yeah, I'd say Pat has done what we've asked him to do. He has some strengths that we try to play to. The guys around him got to get used to some of those things on how we're, deploying punts or like how we're holding the interaction between Chad and Brewer. But yeah, it's kind of how it's going.
What are some of those strengths?
Pat's got a good leg. The style of punt, depending on kind of what we're getting from a protection standpoint, might change. Whether we're trying to hit the ball for distance or trying to keep the ball in a certain area of the field. And he's done a decent job with that.
What was going through your head after that opening kick for them?
I was happy that Keytrell ran it down, gave us a chance to play defense. Obviously, that impacted our ability to prevent them from getting into the end zone, starting the ball at the 1. But he's trying to fix issues, and obviously when that happens on the first play of the game, it gets your attention and start trying to move some guys around and do some different things.
Did you see a common trend between their two fairly long? Obviously, the other return wasn't as long, but the one to midfield and the one to the 1, did you see a common trend between those two?
It was the same return. The first one went one way, the other one went the other way. I didn't think we fitted up great. The kicks were a little bit different. The first kick was not quite over to the side as much. The second one was pinned in pretty good. We can play blocks differently than we did, and we're trying to get those guys coached up. There's a couple of guys that were newer to the operation that their decisions could have been a little bit different, but that's our job. It's my job as a coach to try and get them to see those things before it's live on game day.
When it's as up and down as that is, and you also had the penalty on the originally blocked kick, and then Dortch has a good return. I mean, what is your message after a game when there are some good things, but then also some things that weren't so great?
You're always trying to do the same thing as a coach. I'm always trying to do the same thing as a coach. You're trying to point out the things that went well, why they went well, why they can happen again. You're trying to prevent the things that didn't go well, trying to explain those things. I mean, I try to stay pretty black and white, matter of fact, on trying to keep the emotion out of it with, highs or lows, and you try and stay kind of an even keel. Emotionally, I thought that, there's a couple of plays that happened in that game where guys are trying to, make a good play. And Clay has been around for a long time, rushed a lot of field goals, did a good job getting his hand up, but unfortunately we contacted the snapper. And that's something that thankfully the league is now addressing. Not in that game was it especially good for us, but, you want that safety element to be a part of that. Akeem left early on a kickoff, and that's him trying to go make that play because he knows he's a good player. And you want guys to kind of play within themselves, play within the rules, and play within the scheme.
Do you see anything to Clay's after that play, or does he just know?
Yeah, we talked about it walking off the field. I actually the officials kind of were walking out of that tunnel as well, and I knew who the guy was who had called it, the umpire, and I said, just what did you see? Because I saw this from the sideline. And he told me, and he and Calais were talking about as well, like why he ended up calling that. So, yeah, I mean, you can't ignore things because when you do, they got a tendency of coming back and happening again.
What happened? Did Calais just like lose his balance? Was he lined up too close to the snapper? Like, how does that mechanically end up happening where you end up contacting the snapper?
Yeah, so we moved Calais around a little bit on our field goal block team. That was a longer kick. And when you are, I'm going to talk geometry for a second. When you're up close to the goal line and the ball, say, is being kicked, it's a 20-yard kick. The angle at which the ball is going to go towards the uprights is going to go more B-gap, C-gap. Right, it's going in that direction. The further you are back, the ball's generally speaking going to go over the A-gap or the snapper. Calais moves around in that particular play. He happened to be over the adjacent guard to that side. And what happened on the play is as he's trying to penetrate, his hips kind of came around when his hand was going up. And again, Calais is a large human. The contact was, although not intentional, when there's contact, they call it.
Overall, how do you feel like your special teams units have done this season?
I think we've been inconsistent. I think that there's been games where different phases are right. I mean, like, I don't know. I've been here for a little bit. You guys asked me, like, hey, were you happy? Or how do you think the game went? Or like the question you just asked me. And the answer to your question is, unless 6 phases go the way that I want them to and we win the game, like, there's always disappointment afterwards. So you're trying to kind of balance out the stuff that you want to see out of your guys, or say you want to show to your guys during the week, because this is what this opponent emphasizes, right? Well, our personnel is different than somebody else's personnel, and when there's newer players in there, you're trying to expose them to some things that, hey, maybe this team doesn't do this, but you need to get a look at this before, in case it happens, in the game. So as guys have gotten accumulated reps, they've played decent, and we're just trying to find the right combinations of humans to be able to, have a winning performance.
Can you tell when you talk to your special team coordinator peers around the league that there's a growing sense that all these new rule changes that create short fields it's becoming frustrating, that we're giving offenses such an advantage on an onside kick or whatever it may be?
We are a part of both sides. Like we factor in the coverage part of it with the defense and the return part of it with the offense. So there's not necessarily like a frustration that builds. You asked about frustrated, right? I don't think there's frustration that builds, amongst everybody. But like when you're coaching that phase of it, yeah, it gets a little bit challenging at times. I happened to catch, and I think one of you guys asked me about it, Coach Fangio and I worked together once upon a time in Chicago, and he had brought up the K-ball and how that's affecting different things. He spoke from a defensive coordinator's perspective. The offensive coordinators are probably excited that the ball may be being kicked and made a little bit longer, but we play both sides of it. We have to defend the longer kicks. We get to kick the longer kicks, so it kind of just depends on how it affects you in a game, probably on how you're feeling in the moment.